One of the most frustrating things about making soap is that you turn on your scale and you start digging out one of your oil ingredients, like nice hard coconut oil in winter when it's really difficult to get out of the container. And before you can get the amount in there that you need, your scale turns off, okay? Especially if the batteries are not quite as new as they should be. So I try to get my coconut oil and my shortening loosened up and ready to put in ahead of time, and I watch my scale number so that if it does count off, I know how much it was and I can do a little math to know how much more I need. It can be very frustrating, especially after you have one or two oils in there and you're adding your third. You can't really take it out and reweigh it. So you have to be careful about stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do now. Dump this in. I'm going for 650. As long as I am still adding to the scale and changing the number, it won't die off on me. There's 244. $449. I've also started making soap and not had enough oils. That's very frustrating. 526. I will admit that these batteries are getting a little, not so old as just cold. In the wintertime they don't want to function because it's so cold. 586. This may be too much. 676, and I only want 650. Now it's time for the shortening. Now I need 900 grams of shortening, and you know it's hard to do this and do a video at the same time. I didn't get the coconut oil right. I didn't need 650, I need 700, and I had to go put 50 more in. Isn't that awful? Okay, so we're shooting for 900 grams of shortening. I have a partial container of shortening that I'm using first. It is softer, thankfully, than the coconut oil. But Adam keeps a container of vegetable shortening in the kitchen for the rare occasions when he cooks with it. So I'm going to swipe some of his because I know that my container is not enough. I do go ahead and get all the containers open and ready, like I say, and I wait until after I have the measuring done to go back and tidy up, transfer any little remnants of one container to another or whatever I need to do. Okay. This is the biggest of the three oils in here, is the shortening. Now, I'm not going to scrape all that out. It's too time consuming while I'm worried about my battery power and whether my scale is going to keep going. 667. $793. That seems like an awful lot. 901. No, a little bit too much. There we go. All right. The next is olive oil, and because it's a liquid, it is so much easier. And 700 grams of olive oil. You have to watch those numbers really carefully. It is much harder to retrieve olive oil than it is the solid oils. Oh, she says as she slightly overfills it. And so then I usually get some kind of a little spoon. Boy, that's going to be hard with all that. And you have to do it. Ha, 700. Just a little bit. Whew. Soap making is nervous business. And now, as my oils melt on the stove and as my lye cools, I am going to tidy up all of my messy oil containers like that one and those ones over there. I'll put my scale up, and I'll also get my molds ready to go. And by the time my oils and my lye have cooled down so that I can mix them, I will have had a little nap and watched a TV show. See you then. I wanted to take a second to show you these soap molds. This is the wooden soap mold that Adam made me. This is the one that my daughter just got me for Christmas. You can see this is about half the size of this, although I think that the interior dimensions of this mold are probably a bit larger than this one. So we're going to have to see how this works. But the advantage of this silicone insert is that I can take it out, I can dump the soap out, I can turn it inside out, I can wash it easily in warm soapy water and put it back in, and it'll be great for a long time. The difficulty with this soap is, first of all, I have to clean it out from the previous use. As you can see, I've got some dried soap in here from where it leaked last time into the mold, and I'm going to have to get in there with a knife or a bench knife and clean all that out. These ends come out before I can put soap. Oh, sorry, that's tricky, getting a drink of water. Before I can put soap in here, I have to line it with freezer paper. So I have to cut this to fit, roll it out, cut it. It doesn't like to stay in there, so sometimes I have to tape it open. I also have to cut shorter, smaller pieces and wrap these ends. After I wrap the ends, I also have to take some saran wrap and kind of roll it up and put it around almost like some kind of a like a rubber washer or something, you know, to seal these. Otherwise, I think you've seen this before, I've told you about it, the liquid soap will just leak out the ends. And that's really the biggest deal, I can't even get that in there right now, is that these will never leak. So I'm excited to use only these silicone molds, and much as I've been thankful for these molds, to send them on their way unless I need them someday for a really big batch of soap. So I'm going to get this cleaned up and ready for my soap mixture when it's ready for me. As the oils melt, the shortening, which is in bigger chunks, floats around like icebergs. And I like to cut them in half and cut them and cut them. It's kind of fun. Plus it helps this to melt sooner. You really don't want to get this oil any hotter than you have to just to get it to a liquid form, because every little degree that you get it hotter, you're going to have to cool it back down to about 100 or 110 degrees in order to put it with the lye mixture. So you really don't want it to get too hot. It's getting there. Isn't that fun? There's a nice, tidy soap mold lined with freezer paper and ready to go. But I sure like this better. Well, I blended my oils and lye mixture together. I came to trace, and I put in about 2 teaspoons of tea tree essential oil. And when I poured it into the molds, I did this one first, and you see I poured it pretty close to the top. I really want to see what a full bar from that mold looks like. And I put the remainder in here, and I'm telling you, I had to stop and put these corners in so that the soap wouldn't get down behind this freezer wrap. It's really, even with a good job of lining this mold, it is still tricky. It's also not as full as I would prefer. These are going to be short bars, which may mean I need to cut them kind of long like this and make a bar like this and like this and like this. We'll see when I take them out, but that's definitely not as deep as I like it to be. So I'm looking forward to getting 2 more of these molds. I think 3 of these will be just right for a batch. So there's my latest soap making adventure. Thanks for joining me. Well, at long last, I want to finish up my little discussion of this tea tree oil batch of soap. Here's one of my bars, okay? looking nice. These soaps are about 2 weeks into their curing process, about halfway through. Um, and as you'll recall, I messed up the amount of coconut oil in this recipe. It was supposed to have, let me look back at my recipe. This is my book. Okay. And it was supposed to have 750 grams of coconut oil. And I really messed that up. At first, I put 650 grams in because that was the number in my head about how much water was in there. And then I realized I'd messed it up, so I glanced back at the book and I thought it was supposed to be 700, so I put 50 more in. But of course, that still left me 50 grams short. Now, 50 sounds like a big number when you're making a recipe of anything. 50 grams is not really a lot, but I thought when I realized it after I had mixed the soap up and put it in the molds and I realized what I had done, I thought I had ruined the soap. I thought I had, since I had too little oil, that means that I would end up with too much lye, okay, the ratio, the proportion in the recipe, which means I would have a lye-heavy soap. And a lye-heavy soap, if it's really bad, is too caustic for your skin. You can use it to do laundry, you can use it to scrub your floors or whatever, but you can't use it on your skin. And so I was like, oh, I've got a whole batch of Lye-Heavy soap. I'd have to use it for laundry. I don't know what I was going to do. So I was talking to Adam about it, and he said, well, tell me your numbers. So I did. I told him exactly how many grams of oils, total oils I had in there, and how many grams of lye. And he figured it up in his head, and he said, 50 grams is really not very much. So we were talking about what percentage it was. It was like somewhere between 2 and 3%. So then I looked in my book because I had remembered that every recipe in this book has something called a lye discount. And a lye discount, according to them, is a reducing of the amount of lye in a recipe. It's also called super fatting. In other words, putting extra oil, extra fat into your soap recipe. This is what it says. For the home soap maker, super fatting usually is accomplished by either reducing the calculated lye requirement by a fixed amount, which is a lye discount, or by adding extra oil. So you can get super fatted soap, which lots of people love because it's kind of luscious and creamy and yummy. And it's assumed that homemade soap, you want it to be lovely, kind of luxurious soap. So they build in a lye discount to every recipe in this book, and they vary according to the recipe. The lye discount in the recipe that I use, which is the 3-oil soap, is 5.8%. That's the lye discount. That's pretty substantial. What that means is that they have built in a buffer into this recipe of 5.8% lye. And that gives me this window of error in this case. So even if you add back the extra amount of lye that I've got that I shouldn't have, it still is nowhere close to even what the normal amount, percentage or ratio of lye would be. So the soap is fine. I did something I said I wasn't going to do. I decided I would try the tongue test. I did that when the soap was about 24 hours old. I took a little shard of it that had fallen off and did it on my tongue, and sure enough, I could taste a zing, but it was very fresh soap. Now it's 2 weeks old, and if I do the same thing now, which I did a couple days ago, there's no zing at all. There's no indication of lye or caustic nature in it at all. So I think that I'm doing good. I'm going to wait till it's fully cured, and then I'll do a test on one of the bars that I'm going to keep for myself. I'll do a pH test and just make sure. But I feel really good about this soap, that it'll be fine for sale. Yes, I will say prices of soap vary. I'm going to have to order my lye online now because they're not carrying it in any of the stores where I live. And like I ordered some lye from the Lye Guy, and it should be coming this weekend. And the lye, he had a sale going on. You get 5 containers, 1-pound containers, and you get the 6th for free. His containers were $5.45 a piece. I think I ended up paying $32 something total with tax, but the shipping was over $25. Normally I don't pay shipping on my Lye because I just drive to the store and buy it. So that's going to increase the price of my soap a little bit. What was the other thing I was thinking about? It was just, stickers. Normally I get my nice stickers at Walmart, and they do have a Walmart brand for it. But when I went this last time, all they had were Avery labels. Those are twice as much as the Walmart brand. And so that adds a little something. So when you see the price of homemade soaps fluctuate and vary, a lot of it can depend on the soap maker and what they have access to and how they have to buy things and do they have to pay shipping. So take that into consideration. The fancier the soap, the more luscious ingredients, the more likely they're buying them online. And that's quite expensive with the shipping. So, okay, interesting topic. That's the latest on this soap. I'll be making some more soap soon and getting it all cured for when I go back to the market in March. Thanks for joining me.